The kind of man that get mad at me for carrying my own groceries. He be like, what is you doing? Go in the house. Go sit down. I want him to get mad at me for getting my own door. Look at me like just stupid. Like, touch that door again, see what happened. I want the kind of man that get insulted when I try to pay for the dinner. I want him to be like, don't embarrass me in front of all these people. I got it. Don't do that. All I'm saying is, I want a man that loves being a man and that loves softening my life and making me feel more at peace with the things that I don't like to do. I like to get into my car and be like, babe, you filled up the tank? Thank you, daddy. You got the car washed? Babe, what would I do without you? I'll be doing it by myself. Like I do right now. I'll be toting around my wagon, get my own car washed, filling up my own tank.
There's this huge misconception that in order to have a soft life, you have to have this massive amounts of wealth, which couldn't be further from the truth. And I honestly feel like that is just a way for people to gatekeep certain things, because a soft life is a mental and spiritual practice, and you don't necessarily need wealth in order to do that, but you do need to be out of fight or flight. A soft life requires three things: freedom, flexibility, and flow. And I honestly just made that up, but I'm going to explain. Work with me here. Starting with freedom. Freedom means that you are free from your own self-destruction and self-sabotaging and everyone else's. You are not mentally or physically imprisoned, and you are able to make decisions within your own best interests. This also means freedom within your relationships with friends, family, your significant others, and etc. Freedom is also physical, so living in safe neighborhoods, for example. Next is flexibility. Flexibility means to do as you please or almost as you please. So waking up at a time that seems reasonable for you, creating your own work schedule, having flexible finances to be able to purchase the things that you want. And it doesn't necessarily mean big purchases. It could be purchases like buying yourself flowers or getting that ice cream that you're craving. Having a supportive work-life balance is flexibility. Working from home is flexibility. Passive income is flexibility. When I was working a 9-to-5 as an esthetician, I was creating my own schedule. So even back then I had a soft life. Also, choosing a career that you genuinely love and enjoy is flexibility. And lastly is flow. Flow is all about self-care, and it's about living a life with no to very low resistance. So self-care could be anything from therapy to journaling to doctor's visits, low-impact workouts, healthy relationships, a clean space at home, a healthy bed, and giving yourself the freedom to feel. Anything that can assist in keeping your energy top tier.
Baby, I'm entering my soft girl era. It is lemon water in my Stanley cup. I done woke up at 6 a.m., washed clothes, listened to a sermon, journaled, read my Bible. I'm about to head out, go to the gym, and start my day. Like, honestly, you have to start living the life that you envision yourself living in the future right now. So, yeah, cheers to a soft life. Love y'all.
Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So a couple of days ago, for many of you, we actually had a Zoom live. And if you've never come out to the Zoom lives, I definitely encourage you to do so. They're going to be first and third Wednesdays at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. All right. So we've done a few of them so far. I think a couple of days ago was the 6th one. And we're going to be continually to do that. And my hope is to get them to the point where we're doing them once a week and not just once every other week. But right now, like I said, I'm trying to build it up to do it the right way. But until then, one of the things that was really interesting was we started to talk about soft life because, one of my friends literally right before I started, that particular live, she had actually sent me this one particular lady's thread and out on Threads, and the app. So she basically, sent me that information, and the lady was basically trying to encourage other women to build themselves up, to not worry so much about men, get their money, and go down this concept of not having a soft life. That's really what she was saying. She was like, give up on this concept of soft life, basically build your life for yourself. So it goes back to the whole independent, black woman thing. So that's kind of how we started. But, as we started to get deeper into the conversation, a lot of people started to talk about different aspects of soft life. And see, soft life to me is very much like a term, just like the high value man. And, you've heard me talk about in the past that I don't like that term, high value man, because what is actually high value? a man that has money that is attractive, but he doesn't treat women well, why in the world would women want to be with that man? So I'm always like, get the marriage minded person, right? Or the marriage worthy person, both male and female. And, again, it works the same thing with this concept of pursuit, because you have a lot of people out here that are saying men should be pursuing women and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm saying both should show interest. Like there was a gentleman that came out, last night, Jairus. I want to make sure I get his name right. But, he actually came out and he was talking about it. And I love that word, just, showing interest. And I think that's what we used to say, 10 years ago. But now we're in this mindset where everybody's saying, oh, he has to pursue me or she has to pursue me. I'm the prize, this, that, and the third. And I think, again, we have so many influencers out here that are trying to muddy up the mess because of what either they've experienced or what they want in their life. Right. And I think it can be very tricky as people are trying to navigate. So now let's get into soft life. And there was even a soft guy era. People were playing around with that for a while. But the concept that I have received as I've looked through more and more videos is that a soft life, as I see most influencers talking about it, is really kind of a life that's more carefree. Right. But the problem with that is I'm always looking for how are you defining the amount of work that you are doing in this carefree life. So what do I mean by that? Like, a couple of days ago, like I said, when we had the live, one of the things that came up, it was like, okay, well, how much time, should people really be doing something other than relaxing, enjoying their life, right? And it came down to, I started just thinking, I was like, well, if I clean up my house, and I don't have anybody else here, but if I'm cleaning up my house, it'll probably take me maybe 2.5 hours, maybe 3 within the week, doing stuff within the week. Then you have things like washing clothes, because you have towels. Even if you don't, wash a lot of literal clothes, you wash towels every single week. Then you have other things that you might need to take care of. And then if you have children, they have things that they need to, you have to take care of for them, at least until they're about, say, 8 or 9. You're going to have to definitely be doing a lot of work for them before they can really start to take care of themselves. And so if a woman is basically saying, okay, I want to get married and I want to have children, I don't see how she can say she's having a soft life, because the absolute minimum amount of work that she's going to do is about 16 to 20 hours a week. Now, it was brought up actually in that particular call because one lady, I think she was slightly confused because she was thinking, well, that's a lot of work. But the concept of soft life is that a woman doesn't have a 9-to-5 job. See, that's like the given of the soft life, or even the soft guy era. It's the person, the other person who's living the softness is not really doing anything. They basically get up in the morning, like two of the women talked about, and then they just do what they want, right? Now, ultimately, I think if we go back to biblical times, before modern society, that to a degree, people had a soft life, but they thought their life was hard. But to a degree, it was actually soft, because think about it. Almost everybody was a farmer or some kind of entrepreneur. From that perspective, you kind of got up, when you wanted to a degree, like I said. Because if you were somebody that owned the general store, or you were a tailor or something like that, you were definitely, getting up, when you thought customers would come in. But even when we start to deal with like African tribes and different things like that, people would, knock on whatever people lived in, and say, hey, can I talk to the tailor? My outfit, needs some repair. So that might have happened at 2:00 in the evening. It might have happened at 9:00 in the evening. But I'm pretty sure, just kind of like we have hours of operation now, people kind of knew, the tailor don't get up before 11 a.m. So it ain't no sense of you going over there talking to her until then. We have smaller communities, that were taking care of themselves. So everybody kind of knew everybody. And to a degree, that's how things worked, right? But in our modern society, and the main reason why we have modern society, I'll be honest, a lot of it leans towards war and really sickness and stuff like that. That's why we congregate. Now it's more like, again, jobs again. But in the beginning, again, if you had a small village and your village had 500 people, and then I have a village of 2,000 people and I want your land, then I'm just going to come attack you because I know you can't stop me because I just got more resources. So people started to understand that they had to bind together, in order, to protect themselves, from the world around. And you have businesses and stuff like that within the city now. People start moving from towns into the city for work, blah, blah, blah. And it's a lot more complicated than what I'm making it out, but that's like the simple version. So when you start to talk about soft life, humans have gone through ebbs and flows, and we're always going through ebbs and flows because we think that we have the right answer. But for every answer that we have, there's always something that doesn't quite work right, especially if we're not leaning in towards who? God, right? So anyway, the core here is to talk about soft life. And I don't believe that too many women can actually have a true soft life. Now, you did see the one lady on there, and she was there with her older, white gentleman or whatever. And she even put on there, like, he wouldn't be with you if you was young or whatever. And then she was basically saying, hey, I wouldn't be with him, if he didn't have no money. So they had an understanding. They had an agreement in how they were going to live soft life. And see, this is why I'm always saying it's how you define it. And I think that's always the problem with people out here is because they're trying to figure out how to define these things. So if we look at it from a woman's perspective, so we're going to throw, the soft guy era, to the side for right now. And then we're just going to focus on women. Again, if you want to be a housewife is different than soft life. Because a housewife understands that she has to take care of the home, that she has to, feed her husband, i.e. cook meals. Doesn't mean you got to cook every meal, but, you got to cook some meals. You got to clean up the house. And if you have children, you're the main person that is going to put clothes on them, get them ready for school, and probably do a good portion of their homework with them. That is going to be your job. But that's a lot of work. And it's a lot of thought that goes into that work. Now, you do have kind of your own schedule because once the kids go, off to school, you can pop back into bed and sleep for another 2 hours and then get up, maybe go to the gym, maybe clean up the house. You can kind of work it however you want until the kids come home. But there's still these windows of time that you can't really control your life, at least for a portion of your life, right? And then you have another version of soft life where a woman might have these kids. She might be a stay-at-home mom, but maybe her husband makes enough money that they can hire someone else, maybe like a nanny, to actually do a lot of those chores for the woman. And maybe the nanny also cooks, right? Now, at that point, the woman can kind of laze around. She doesn't have to really do a lot, okay? She can basically spend probably less than 5 hours a week at this point doing work. But again, it's very few women that can actually get to that point in life. You have to think about what kind of man, you have to think about the type of man that can actually, afford basically, in essence, almost two wives, because you have the nanny there that he's directly paying for, and then he's still paying for things for the wife and the kids. So he has both of those that he's paying for. Okay, plus he has to have his life, plus he's doing his business and stuff like that. So you're probably talking about a man at least at 250, 300, starting to go up. It may be even more at that point. All right. And that's the whole thing. And so when you start talking about men that are making in excess of $250,000, $300,000, what is that? Maybe 5% of the male population. And then he has to be, according to, my channel's Christian. So I'm guessing many of you are Christian. Then he has to be Christian and real Christian. At that, not just somebody that says, hey, I love God and I love Jesus, because a lot of those people going to find themselves somewhere else. And you always have to, and when I'm talking about somewhere else, I'm saying not in heaven, at the end of their life. And even when you do that, you want to line yourself up with the man's leadership. And if he's not leading at all with God and being concerned about God, who's to say he's not going to cheat on you? Who's to say he's not going to come in one day and just start to do every single thing that's against the 10 Commandments? So you don't really want to line yourself up with that. right? So even in that, it's like this very small window of men, because you still have to be decently attracted to him, because, you know, if he's married to you, or even if he's just hanging out with you, he's going to want to have sex with you. And if you're looking at him like, oh my gosh, every time I think about you, I just want to throw up. You know, if that's you, you're not going to be able to perform your side of the deal. All right. And so again, that's another set of soft life. And then the final one, you know, it's kind of like the other lady. She basically found her an older guy that she thinks is decently attractive. She thinks she's cute. Okay. She ain't trying to have no kids with him. He ain't really necessarily trying to have no kids with her. He's just having fun. And she's just having fun. And so she's living the soft life. The only problem with that is the longevity. Okay, because now, you know, she's in this thing where if she doesn't marry him, or if he doesn't have a good insurance policy when he dies or whatever, then she could be ending up, now she's in her 20s, it's all fun, it's all soft life, but now she gets into her 30s and she has no experience on any jobs. She has not learned a lot of things that she would have learned in her 20s just being out in the normal world. Now maybe the man, you know, is tired of her. He wants to move on to another woman, or maybe, you know, he dies or whatever it is. So she might have lost him. And now she's trying to fend for herself, you know, out here. Now, when you look at people like Anna Nicole Smith, like way back in the day, a lot of, you know, but when you look at somebody like Anna Nicole, I'll be honest, and I've said this before, a lot of women can do that. A lot of women don't even think that they're attractive can do it, because again, attractiveness is based off of the man that you are talking to. And there are women right now probably in, you know, that are 19, 20, 21 that kind of have their head down. You know, they might feel like they're a few extra pounds, or they were never the cute girl, or they always had glasses, or whatever it is. And I'll be honest, they can run into a 55-year-old man that's like, yo, I like you, just because of the youth, and then will 100% level them up. And I'm not telling women to do that, because again, that's my whole point. There is all of these things that you have to think about. There's not just this one path. And like I've told you all, when you're dealing with a lot of influencers and just people out here on the internet, period, a lot of them, they're not telling you what their agenda is. Okay? Because everybody has a vision. They have a vision. They have an agenda. And they're bringing things and talking about things to get them to their goal. So if an influencer says, hey, I want to live soft life, I want to do this, okay, they're going to talk about it, but they're only going to talk about it to the degree that they believe that their audience can handle it. Right now on this channel, you always see every day my main agenda, which is let's get you married, right? I talk to both men and women on this channel. That to me, like if I was out there, that's what I would want. You know, and you also have seen I've tried to bring a lot of women on to interview them, to talk to them. I've been on their channels, different things like that. Why do I want to do that? Again, to keep it balanced. I'm not perfect. Okay, only God is perfect, right? And because of that, my goal of getting you married, my goal of getting you this information means that I have to show you both sides of the coin. And the problem is with a lot of people is they don't want to show you both sides of the coin. They just want to continue to encourage you to go down one way. That's why a lot of these soft life women, and I'm gonna be real with you, real quick. A lot of soft life women were literally faking it until they make it. Because what they do is they'll come out here, they'll have a channel, you know, or be on TikTok, and they'll tell you all the stuff about soft life and how they used to live and this, that, and the third. But it's really the people that are watching them, giving them enough money to actually live this quote unquote soft life. Does this make sense? So they're never going to tell you anything bad about it, because they know that's why you're watching them in the first place. But there is bad to soft life. First of all, like I say, it's how you define it. We also have to always go back to how it's defined. But from a marriage perspective, there are very few men that just want their wife sitting around and not doing much of anything but being pretty. Okay? A lot of men don't like that. Okay? And when you have kids, again, I know for me, I don't want a wife and a nanny. And just to let a lot of women know, and I'm going to be real for a second, is that a lot of men are attracted to women doing domestic duties. They are. And this is why a lot of men, you will see it all the time, and you are always hearing about it, where people basically ended up having sex with the nanny. Why? Because they're attracted to that. They're attracted to a woman cooking a meal. They're attracted to a woman taking care of the kids. It's the same way a lot of women are attracted to men doing handiwork or doing work around the house. So when a woman is sitting there and she's watching a man cut the yard and then clean it up and cut the bushes, or, cleaning out the pool or painting or building something, that's very attractive to a lot of women. To watch a man's body in motion, in work, right? It's the same way for men. We're very attracted to women that seem very maternal, that seem like they can take care of the household. And so for a woman to invite another woman into her space, okay, because she just is really honestly too lazy to get up and do the work, it opens a door, for her man to cheat. And there might be women out there that say, well, I'll just get an older woman. I'll just get, ugly woman. Well, maybe you might have her for 3 years, but then what happens if she retires? Or what happens if she moves, out of the country, and then all of a sudden you have to hurry up and get somebody? And then you end up with a woman and you're like, oh crap, she's actually cute. And then you're like, well, I'll just deal with it for now. I'll try to find somebody later. And then before you know it, 2 years have passed and you find out she's pregnant with your man's baby. Right? And so again, it's like, is it worth all that, just so you don't have to do any work? So it's like I say, it's all these different ways to look at it. But for me, I do not encourage women to live a soft life. Now, to the very first woman's point, if you guys can remember all the way back to her, she was talking about like men opening doors, paying for meals, basically being a gentleman. And again, we're always changing the words. That's why I'm always telling y'all, the devil loves to change the definitions. He loves to change the words because that confuses people, right? There are gentlemen now. Okay, there's plenty of gentlemen in the world now. That's not living a soft life. That's just a woman finding a gentleman. Like with me, if I am dating a woman, first couple of dates that we go out, I'll be honest, I am going to make sure that I am telling her, hey, let me get this door for you. Let me open this, let me pay this, blah, 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 because I want to show her that I am a gentleman, right? So yeah, there's a point where a woman has to be looking for those types of clues. And that's why I'm always even telling women, your first couple of dates with a guy, first couple of conversations with a guy is you trying to figure out if you want to give him a second, third, or fourth date. And I think we have a society where people don't look at it that way. They're so lonely that they really want just to get to the second and third date to get into the relationship. And they're not really vetting the people. Like for me, on the first date, I'm definitely recognizing that the woman comes from a certain environment. And I don't know what that environment was. So I am going to try to, I'm not really going to say anything. I'm just going to try to open the doors, like I say, be the gentleman. And if I find on the second date that she really, was kind of trying to get to the door quick, she was trying to open it for herself, then I will actually say it. I will say, let me open it for you. Okay. Then by the time we're at the third date, she might, she's fiddling or she's still reaching for the door. That's going to start to turn into a yellow or red flag for me. Because first of all, I told her what I wanted her to do. And my leadership in this particular place is not hurting her mentally, spiritually, physically, or emotionally. And those are the things that I always tell women to pay attention to. Is a man asking you to do something that is going to hurt you mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally? And if you can't say, oh, well, yeah, I don't feel that by his leadership, then let him lead. Then do what he asks you to do. And so if I'm basically asking a woman to basically allow me to open the doors for her, to allow me to carry her bags, to allow me to be this gentleman, and she will not allow me to do it, that's telling me two things. Either first, like I said, she's coming from an environment where she feels like she has to 100% take care of herself, which is not attractive to me. And then the second part of that is she doesn't know how to follow my leadership, which again is not attractive to me. And at that point, she's done. Okay, there's no sense in going on another date. And honestly, some women get there at the end of the second date, depending upon how they react, to me, again, opening doors and different things like that. So it's the same thing for women. If they're out there, a woman should not even have to ask it. If a woman says, can you open the door for me? You with the wrong dude. I would encourage women to hold their comment on that until you're on like the 10th door or maybe the 7th door, because you don't know, again, what the man has gone through. He might be having a weird day. It might take him a while to pop in to his normal self. But even like I say, if you going in and out a restaurant, if you go to your door of your car, all these types of things. I mean, he might open 4 or 5 doors for you, in one night. So if by the end of the night he hasn't done any of that, and then you do decide to give him a second date, maybe because everything else was great, and then again he's already not opening doors, then you have to make that decision. Like, okay, do I want to be with this guy, or he's not really the gentleman? So let me, go ahead and move to someone else. But we also always have to remember, like I said, it's always plenty of people out here for you if you would just, like I say, look at every single aspect, be willing, to go through the process, and don't tire yourself out with trying to force yourself to stay into relationships that ain't working. And then pick men and women, for the men that are watching, from certain groups, just being real. Like on the live, there was a lady that came out and she was married. And she talked a little bit about it. I'm going to try to get her and her husband to come on, to do a little quick interview with them. But the whole point was, she said she went to like these singles events, Christian singles events, right? And it was through that she saw a guy. She really liked how that guy was talking, and boom, 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 now she's married to him. And I talked about, going to the Sexless Tribe event about 2 months ago, and out of there, I met about 5 or 6 guys. And, for me, I'll just be real. It's hard for me to kind of lock in and even be cool with a guy that I really don't respect. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a little bit level of respect, because if I kind of think that you're too weak or whatever, I'm not going to be able to hang out with you. And then if I think you're too arrogant or whatever, I'm not going to be able to hang out with you. So at that particular event, there was about 5 or 6 guys, like I said, that I was hanging out with, talking to, tripping with. They were really great guys. And I'll be honest with you, I was surprised that the women that were there, they definitely made themselves available to those men. I think a lot of the women, what they saw was that, okay, we don't have enough men. But it's not about having enough men. It's about having at least one good man. It's just like with everything people talk about here in Atlanta. They're like, all these women out here, it's a man's paradise. Well, no, not really, because most of these women out here really aren't the marriage type. And they're not really competition unless they're in the same boat with you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to see it that way. A woman has to see it like, you might think it's all these women, but the real good men, the men that are going to get married, they don't care about all these women. They're looking for a very specific woman, and you could be that if you're willing, to actually pay attention. Now, I'm all off topic. Just to sum this up, ladies, you really have to watch this soft life thing. Again, I would lean you into being a stay-at-home mom if that's what you want. But remember, being a mom, being a stay-at-home mom is still work. All right? It's still work. It's a good life, but it's still work. So that's where I am going to encourage you if you want this. But again, I don't think it's anything wrong with you having a job or whatever it is. It's just that you always need to put your family first. God definitely, and then your family. And that's really what most men are looking for. They don't care so much about your job as much. If you got one, cool. If you don't have one, cool. But one thing's, again, on the soft life about your money, because that's something else that people are always talking about, is if you make a significant amount of money, ladies, your money should go to the family. Okay? And I do think you should get a stipend off of that, like, allowance, but I think the man should as well. A quick thing on how I believe budgeting. It might be a lot of people in the comments that don't believe this, but this is how I see it. Okay? If a woman makes, let's say, for instance, she makes 50 grand, because I think that's a significant amount. So if a woman makes $50,000 and then my money, and we put those monies together, they go into one account. That is the family account. Now, after we pay our tithe and whatever we're going to give to God and to the government and all this other kind of stuff, we're going to take 10% of her salary, and that's going to go into her own banking account. That's in a banking account. If she wants me to be the co-signer on it, that's fine or whatever. But that's her money. She does what she wants to with that money, blah, blah, blah. And then the same thing with me. 10% of my salary is going to go into my thing. That's going to be me. That's what I'm going to do. Now, of the money that is the family's money, right? Okay, that is going to take care of pretty much everything. That is going to take care of the house. That's going to take care of the cars. That's going to take care of insurance. That's going to take care of food. That's going to take care of gas. That's going to take care of any kids' needs. That's going to take care of vacations. That's going to take care of pretty much everything. In fact, even with me, and I've talked about this before, depending upon her beauty regimen, because I believe in investing into the beauty of the woman that I am with. I like my woman to look good. So I'm going to invest in her beauty regimen. And so if that beauty regimen is $400 a month or $500 a month, then she's going to get a stipend, from the family, to make sure that she can use really good quality lotions and products on her skin and products in her hair. If she needs to go to the beautician, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so she's going to have that. Now, her money is really, honestly, if she wants to get a gift for me, if she wants to do something special for herself that we and her have never talked about, say if she wants to go on a girls trip, if she wants to go, do something, just all of a sudden her friend girl says, hey, let's meet, downtown for brunch. Yeah, she can use her money. But see, so most of the time her money's not being touched. It's just accumulating. It's just continuously accumulating. And even if there's an emergency fund, as some women try to tell women to do, some influencers try to tell women to do, she got money. So no matter what the situation is, this is not me dominating her. This is not the family stopping her from living her life. In fact, the family is pretty much taking care of her so she can do what she wants. Now, if she was making $7,000 a year, $10,000 a year, which I consider a very small amount, maybe she has a small business on Etsy or something like that, but for the most part, she's a stay-at-home mom, then she can just keep that money. Because at that point, that money, that $10,000 or whatever, covers those types of things. But I think there's some people out here, that talk about, a man fully taking care of the woman, and then the woman to have a business making $250,000 a year. And then she doesn't want to share that money. It's kind of like, okay, then what's the point at that point? Because what I want from you at the most is your time. And you can't run a $250,000 a year business, and then if I say, hey, let's go right now, let's go on a vacation, or I need you to pick up, little Jay, from school, and you're like, well, I have a meeting because my business. You see what I'm saying? So that defeats the purpose. So if you're making $250,000 a year, yeah, your money got to come to the family. And I hope, you all see the difference. And like I said, I know I've talked long on this soft life, but I kind of wanted to remember first and third Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. Like I said, there's more and more people coming out to those lives. I think that's going to be November 20th. I want to say November 20th. And I'm going to talk about it a lot before we get there. So please come out to that. Again, also like and subscribe if you're interested in membership. Please go ahead and hit that join button. I'm going to be doing a lot more with membership coming up. A lot of this stuff that we're doing right now is ramping up. So, that's why I've been, trying to tell people about membership. I've been trying to tell people about all the different things that I'm trying to do. I'm also, like I say, reworking with some of the groups that I work with as well. So we're, just trying to get things going, to help you all get married. So anyway, please like and subscribe, and I'm going to see you in the very next video.